So I'm taking care of marketing as well as the technical part of Ashish Life Science. As you all aware, Ashish Life Science always strive and always is keen to give the knowledge and to impart the knowledge, the to do some value additions to all veterinary community. So we have started this as a knowledge center, knowledge gaining webinars. We have a chain and series of this. So today also we are doing a webinar which is on a very important topic, as you all can see, that on the disease management and profitability, and how we can have some proactive strategies for healthier birds. So this is the need of ours. And first of all, I thank you all of you for your time, what you are giving for this webinar. And I would like to again extend my humble regards and thanks on behalf of Ashish Life Science to Dr. Monday. A brief introduction for Dr. Monday is that he's a very distinguished veterinarian and also the advocate who is very responsible for use of antimicrobial drugs. He earned his degree, that is Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, from the University of Maiduguri in 1987. And in 1992, he made a significant remark in veterinary field by establishing the first private veterinary practice clinic in Abuja. And he's extending his veterinary services, his agro services to in Nigeria, and now via this platform to the globe. Beyond veterinary practice, he has Dr. Monday has expertise in agriculture sector also. He is owning and managing a farm, that is almond farm. He is his dedication to the quality and safety in meat processing, and also he is having a certification from National Agency of Food and Drug Administration and Control, that is NAFDAC, solidifying his reputation as a trusted figure in the industry. There are a lot of things what he has given to the veterinary field, and he is continuing doing all his work. So this was just a brief about Dr. Monday, and we are quite opportunistic and quite lucky to have him as a speaker for this webinar. And as a summary, that Dr. Monday is a influencer. He teaches, and even he has a strong family values and a dedicated practitioner in the veterinary domain. He is also fond of traveling. His contribution is there in ECOWAS projects, and he all these aspects, his life, they are coming together to form a multifactorial and inspiring narrative, and obviously a passionate advocate for veterinary medicine and a devoted individual for making a difference in various spheres of life. So I welcome Dr. Monday on behalf of everyone who is attending the webinar, and certainly from Ashish Life Science. So thank you, sir, for guiding us. So over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning from Nigeria.
Yeah.
Let me first appreciate the Ashish Life Science for the privilege extended to me to share our own thoughts at this level. We're not taking it for granted, and we truly appreciate. Actually, there is no knowledge that is exclusively that of any individual, except that which I have also acquired from some other people who have made some contributions in our own lives, and then we build on it a little bit, and then we also want to share for other people to also improve on it and still continue to share with others. So knowledge sharing is a continual business, and we are indeed very grateful. Looking at the topic this morning, it reminds one of that big question that says, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? I'm not sure whether the answer has been found, but with respect to this, our topic today, I think that there is something that is sufficiently clear about it. The topic on itself is disease management and profitability. Of course, with a hyphen to say proactive strategy for healthier birds. What this simply means is that being proactive refers to having to do something before you get into what your desire is. Without the proactive strategies, you cannot guarantee healthier birds. And if you do not have healthy birds, you are actually opening the doors for diseases to come in. And once diseases come in, you want to say you are managing the diseases, but I can also tell you that inversely, your level of profitability will certainly be affected. This is just the background. I think that we can go into the slide sharing.
Yes, sir. You can share the presentation, sir.
I can carry on now.
Yeah, no, you can share the presentation. Please share the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Like I said, disease management in poultry farming. This fundamentally refers to comprehensive strategies. I use the word comprehensive. Next. I use the word comprehensive for obvious reasons, because it has to be total. They are not just comprehensive strategies, they are also practices that are definitely used in the poultry industry. For what purpose? Number one, to prevent. Number two, to control. And then where diseases occur, you try to mitigate the impact of the diseases in the poultry farming. This is it in essence. Well, I've already said it, that disease management in poultry is just part of the overview, and then we look at the profitability, then the proactive strategies for achieving the healthier birds. But let me say this very quickly. There is what is obviously a kind of divisions here when it comes to the presentation. But in real sense, the entire business is not as if you are turning the slices of bread. Take one slice, another one. This is a complete cycle. In other words, one component is invariably affecting the other. So they are not entirely separable. Let's have this behind our minds. So I will be showing a few slides of pictures, and then we'll be talking about them. Not too long ago, or well, a couple of years back, a grandmother came with a grandson, and they had a cock. They came over for a check, apparently reporting that the cock, they observed that it's been ill. Of course, on inquiry, we realized that that was the only thing they had. Obviously, coming to the clinic with a cock, you know, avian medicine is, you deal with them in the flock, you know, hundreds, tens, thousands, and what have you. But this is a grandmother with a grandson, they are coming with one. Obviously, what that means is that as far as their own poultry farm is concerned, that is the total, the 100% of the number of birds in their own farm, and they needed attention. But going forward is that a lot surrounds their ownership of that cock. The cock provides for them so much of satisfaction. It could be emotional. It could also be part of their own family members. And by extension, some measure of profit, whatever it is, they also derive just for that one cock. What this simply means is that, please, I beg of any and all professionals, do not, for whatever reason, look down on anybody because all he has is just one cock or a few cocks. This is very important. Here is another picture of a lady. This time around, it's not just one cock, but then she is doing something to earn a living. That's very important. Again, when you look at this lady very closely, looking at her head, you see evidences of gray hair. For me, this speaks volume of language. That simply shows that chances are that this lady must have retired from some active services, and she is back home, and then she has something to do with her birds. Take it or leave it. This is obviously a very important industry to have, and chances must not be taken. The two slides gives us an impression of something that is local. And I also dare say, there is no continent anywhere in the world where you say completely you not have people, attending to their birds in this local form.
Some cash under some circumstances. I once moved some huge, some years back.
Okay, some interruption, please. Some interruption.
From your phone only, I guess somebody has joined with your name, Dr. Monday. So the disturbance is from there.
They give you authority.
Let them mute.
No, I am muted them.
Okay, please unmute. Okay, thank you. This is another evidence to show that someone is doing something that is larger than the previous images we have seen. You see the number of birds, they are more in number. There is some evidence of some bit of organization, the arrangement of the feeder as well as the, water. Now we are going to what looks like the mega farm. You find things like this. And in this case, unlike the picture before this one, where you have manual attention being given to the birds, this is an evidence of a farm that is fully automated. And of course, in the same way as you find the local people, you also find the highly automated ones in different parts of the world. Be that as it may, the principles remain the same. The principles remain the same. And that's what we'll be looking at very, very briefly. The topic here says proper preparation prevents poor performance. This is just simply to underscore the entire topic for today's presentation that is talking about, the proactive step that needs to be taken. It's very important that before anyone gets into any venture, particularly the poultry or, like I said, any venture, it's important for one to sit down first and foremost to count the costs, do sufficient evaluation to be sure whether or not it has what it takes to embark on such venture, particularly in poultry. Sadly, in some other slides I'll be showing, go back. In some other slides that I'll be showing, we're going to see strong evidences of people who did not take, these proper preparations, that would have prevented poor performance. Number one that we need to do is to have knowledge. Knowledge is specific in this case. Knowledge is specific. You need to know what it takes to keep birds. Capital refers to funds, money in particular. We have also seen situations where people are given feasibility reports. And all that the fellow who received the feasibility report got is that if you keep so number of beds, you keep, for example, 1,000 number of beds, you stand the chance of making so amount of money, let me say in our own local setting, naira, you put in 1,000 beds, then you can be making 10 million naira or 10 million rupees or $10 million. He takes the first figure of the number of beds, and then not even counting what will happen along the line, he sees the money that he wants to be collecting. But it's important to have a good knowledge of his space, and location is also very important. You can be a vet, you have knowledge about the poultry, but it's important that the number of beds that you want to keep and the location must be juxtaposed with the available space and location. Building is yet another one. Buildings to pen construction. We remember that we had the privilege of advising somebody who wanted to, set up one, and then he was shocked when I said, look, yeah, these are the things that needs to be done, but we may have to invite some other professional, an architect, to put together, to study your area and then put together the buildings. Let me give us one interesting scenario. Okay, it's in subsequent slides where buildings were erected and the orientation of the building with respect to the rising point of the sun and the setting was never recognized. They did not take cognizance of the sun that is going to shine as an evidence, as a possible means that can impact their production. They just simply build it. And what happens? Once the sun rises in the morning, it falls right into the pen, right through the entire day after 12 noon, when the bird will just receive some small shadow from the building. By the time it's setting, anytime from 1 o'clock thereafter, the sun starts to come in. Obviously, you do not expect that the birds are going to be at the best, in their best form of performance. Capacity is another one. Let's just go on. Appropriate record keeping. We can never overemphasize the need for appropriate record keeping, because it will give you the entire history of what you have been putting in, the number of birds you have lost, and what you stand to gain, and whether or not you are making profit or not. There's also the need to have knowledge about the prevalent diseases, because the prevalent diseases will help you to prepare ahead of time, proactively, the type of medications you need to give. Of course, the diseases can come in form of viral or bacterial or even fungal. And usually the bacterial and the fungal and the viral, there's need for vaccinations. So there's need for you to know where to source your vaccines from ahead of time. It's not when it's time for vaccinations, then you start running, here and there for the purpose of getting the vaccines for the specific diseases. You also need to know where to get your beds. You also need where to get your feeds. I've also seen people, they just buy, not taking cognizance of the fact that these birds, for as many that you have, will correspond with the quantity of feed that you'll be needing for the purpose for which you are keeping them. These also are very important. There should be need for the availability of veterinary services. The veterinary services We have to do with the personnel that's available within your community, and then with respect to the possibility of carrying out some form of diagnosis. I also advise people quite often. Farmers, sometimes they jump from one veterinary outfit to another veterinary outfit to another veterinary outfit for the same flock of birds. It's not really advisable. Get committed to one, and we believe that the veterinary services, the operators should also be honest enough to provide the needed services to the extent of where need be. If there is need for referral, let them refer, let them put heads together with some other fellows, probably by way of experience or exposure, so that solutions can be found for the needs of the various farmers and their holdings. The PPE I put there, depending on the size of the farm, I have seen local farms, just all that this one requires is that have clothes that are purely dedicated for the works in the farm. Of course, during the COVID, we had this PPE. It became very popular. And then during the avian influenza, the use of PPE became very popular, where you have all the personnel covered for one purpose or the other. But it suffices to say that every farm, it's not the same clothes that you use for going out here and there. When you come, there should be a means where you change your wares, either the footwear or even the apparel. That's very important. There's need for regular monitoring. For as many people that will have to work on the farm, let them have some basic knowledge. Let them have some basic knowledge. Let them be trained. Some of the slides that I showed before, particularly the one before the mega farm, that is the, let's go to that other one, the one that the lady was doing before this one. Good, this very slide. Okay, let's go back. I'll be speaking on that with respect to, you find that the personnel, they need to be trained. In that very slide that we just showed, you realize that the water is on the floor. Even the automated ones, you still have to do routine check. What do I mean by that? If you have personnel who are not well trained, and for whatever reason, they do not see the importance of the spilling of water on the floor, they don't see the importance, they can never understand the consequences of leaving the litter wet. That in itself is danger. So before anyone is engaged, please let them have adequate knowledge and let them be sufficiently trained. In fact, from experience, the lady we just showed, with those we have is a local drinker. I was putting someone through to say, look, this is how you are going to turn it. There is this point that serves as a point of reference. You place your hand this, and yet another fellow say, oh, doctor, I'm just learning something new. I never knew. So training is very important. The issue of security can never be overemphasized. I put it pilfering. I again have slides somewhere along the line that we also reveal these unfortunate habits that we find among workers. Pilfering, it could be human and non-human predators and vectors. The issue of rodents, it's very serious. It will interest you that when you have young chicks, probably a day old up to 1 week, if for any reason your farm is not rodent proof, you stand the chance of losing a good number of them. You just come, you see mortality, but post-mortem will reveal You see evidence of bites on the dead chicks. And beyond that, you can also stand the risk. If there are rodents, you stand the risk of they bringing in all sorts of diseases, which may not manifest when the chicks are dying physically, but may manifest much later. Availability of constant portable water. There is a direct correlation between the water consumed and the availability of food or feed for your birds. If for any reason you think you can just leave potable water and no feed, you can be sure that you are going to meet the level of water that you left there the same way. Because if there is no feed, the birds will not have serious reason to drink water, and vice versa. But the potable water is very important because it's another channel through which diseases can be transmitted. This is very important. The issue of regular electricity supply, well, depending on where you are hearing me from, some continents, they have done quite well. Some countries have done quite well in the provision of electricity to their citizens, not necessarily because of rearing birds, but we also know that some other parts of the world, the availability of electricity is a serious challenge. Talking about that, you find that how well your birds will grow has a lot to do with the availability of light, particularly the broilers. Now it's no longer news that efforts are being made because of the level of hunger around the world to produce birds at the earliest possible time that is still wholesome. So electricity plays a major role. Even in layer birds, we still have a situation whereby you have regulated provision of electricity to the extent of ensuring that their productivity is maximum. Now, you remember I spoke about the issue of space and building. This structure, other slides will also be coming. On the left and then by the right. The building was put there, but like I said, the issue of orientation and where they are located, the image to the right with all this bush is part and parcel of this very building. Though the front appears as if it's clear, but not too far from there, within the same perimeter fencing, you find this bush. You can be sure that this is a fantastic point of storage for reptiles and what have you, that can easily be attracted to whatever birds that will be put in that building. Apart from the fact that the building was, was poorly put together. But the sad thing was that the poultry actually folded up. The poultry actually folded up because of a number of factors. Here is this same building. This building is still part and parcel of the poultry farm that we had, that I showed before now, before the other slide. This is still part of the building. It's interesting. This is the office. This is the office. Very nice office, comfortable. But the truth is that the beauty, the comfort that the office will provide for the personnel, good as it may be, cannot have the same kind of impact on the birds for whose reason the building is put up. Looking at the cost of putting up this building as against what would have been used to put up a very good and appropriate building for the birds, you see that there is obviously an abnormality. So much funds was put in putting up this building, and not much was given to the building that was going to house the birds. This is certainly not good. This is certainly not good. And it will go on to impact on the productivity. And like I said, the farm did not last any longer. Next. Well, this is still part of it. This is still part of the entire farm. We just try to take images of the farm at different points. The water is there, and there's a borehole to provide water. But everything about it could not translate into what we call the maximum purpose for which the birds were set up.
Okay.
Well, sourcing your birds, this is another very important thing. I took this one from a local setting. If you look at the image, you are going to see the containers, the crates, the cartons that bear the day-old chicks. As many colors that you see there represent the different farms where these birds were collected. Whether the white one, the brown one, and the one that's looking pink, I think there are about 4 colors here. They all represent that these birds came from different sources. Hatcheries, to be specific, hatcheries. Then, what is this picture telling us now? Yes, it has told us that they came from different places, and in fact, they were actually transported over a long distance to a particular spot, over a long distance that lasts not less than 12 hours or so. What that simply means is that there is so much of interaction, whether you like it or not, among the birds, even though they are in different cartons, but something has happened while they were on transit. There has been so much of interaction. Now, what is the impact of this interaction to the eventual farms that these birds are going to be transferred to? The quality of the hatchery, what happens in the hatchery will go a long way in determining the product that came from that hatchery. Disease like salmonella, for example, that seem to have become a big challenge in some places, is something that we can never overlook. If hatchery A has a clean hatchery, hatchery B is coming from another place. In fact, one of the things I did not show here is that sometimes on account of transportation, the cartons are damaged. I would have done that, though I didn't take that image. The cartons are damaged, and then the birds, they mix together. The birds, they mix together. And in a bid to say, okay, this carton has 50, the capacity is 50, this one, they just simply pack birds. So you do not know when you take the birds that came from hatchery A that has a particular disease into the carton for another hatchery or hatchery B. But then the farmers will come, they will pick whatever they need to pick, and then they go. That can just serve as the foundation of disease outbreak eventually. In fact, by the time the birds arrive at various farms, you start to see evidences of possible outbreaks. What is the advice in this case? It's important that farm owners, as much as possible, let them pick up their birds from a particular source that is not mixed with any other birds from a different hatchery. It is possible, it is doable. And going forward, when you source your birds from the same hatchery, you collect them from the same place, not mixed with any other birds. If you have challenge with the birds you have collected, it is very easy to trace back, to call the owners of the hatchery. This is what I have observed. You can even go further by asking the hatchery owners, what specific advice do you have for your farmers that pick up birds from you? You can have very useful information from those hatcheries. This is very important. Thank you. I spoke about trained personnel. There's need for continual training. There's no one personnel that knows it. And let me also say, it's not just trained personnel. Let them also be adequate. Let there be enough so that you do not overwork depending on the facilities within the farm. A number of farms, manual in nature where you need more people, but make sure that you have a corresponding number of personnel for the size of your farm. If you have too few personnel, chances are if one is ill, then your entire enterprise can be exposed to some challenge. Of course, for farms that are mechanized, you find that the number of personnel is very minimal because the climate, the microclimate where the birds are sufficiently controlled. Providing feed or water is just the press of a button, and then it goes on that way. I was at a farm where some renovations were being done. No matter how good your farm is, there is need for continual assessment and reassessment. This particular farm, they observed that during the hot period of the year, when temperatures are very high, they noticed a high level of mortality. Of course, this is also basically a farm that is maybe local in nature, but I also want to say whether it is the automated type or the local, the issue of climate is very important. They observed that their birds were dying during the hot months of the year. And then in order to find some solution to it, they felt that let them put some form of ceiling that will reduce the heat intensity. And they were doing that, and this picture was taken and sent to a friend. And then the friend said, so even birds, they even have ceiling in their place. These birds must be enjoying. It's not a matter of enjoyment. If you want to ensure maximum productivity, maximum profitability, you can, no step is too expensive for you to take because it will translate into disease management, mortality will be reduced, and your profitability will go, higher. Let's just take a few, looking at some risk assessment, how to identify potential disease risk assessment, disease risks, how to identify potential disease risk. The process of assessing risk include factors such as the farm location. I mentioned it. It can never be overemphasized. The farm location, the bird source, and exposure to vectors and other microclimate. The importance of regular monitoring. There's need for ongoing monitoring to identify early signs of disease and prevent outbreaks. When you have personnel that are well trained, one of the things that should be considered in poultry farming is that you should also have specified times when you enter the poultry. There are, for example, if the birds needs to be fed at a particular time of the day, as much as possible, maintain that time. While going into the poultry farm, let your instincts be strong enough to know exactly the responses of the birds. For example, if you come into your farm, let's say 6 a.m., you want to feed. As you approach the birds, what are the sounds that you hear from the birds? What type of movements do they make? How do they make those movements? These are things that they may not be written on your textbooks, but let it be on your mind. You are able to appreciate that once you enter the farm 6 a.m., you hear a sound as though the birds is saying, oh, thank you. You are welcome. We are so grateful that you are here this morning. They want to rush as though they want to embrace you. What am I saying? Some of these signs that you observe when you go at specific times, they can help you to be able to detect whether these birds are happy this morning or not. And some of the moves that they will make, maybe they are not as enthusiastic as they used to be the day before and the day before then. You should start to put your instinct together and say, these birds, usually when I come in 6 a.m., they will rush and come. Only few are left, maybe some distance away. When you come in the morning, what is the level of water that is available? That is also another signal. What is the level of feed that is available? Of course, because you know the number of birds that you stocked, you should also know the amount of feed that you have to provide. If you provided the required number of feed for that particular age, at the time you are supposed to provide it, but after a period of time, you come back when you are supposed to visit, you realize that the quantity of feed consumed is far, far lesser than what they had been consuming before. That is a sign that something is about brewing. You're going to find a statement that I will make. It is part of my concluding statement, and let me not speak on that. But it suffices to say what I've just said now is something that you have to keep on your mind, because I will be making direct reference to that statement at the end. So this is the thing. By your continual monitoring, by your instinct and whatever, you'll be able to know whether the birds are still in the right frame of mind, in the right state of health or not, to give you the early signs for risk assessment, as the case may be. Early reporting to the Veterinary Personnel Authority is very, very important. In fact, it is said, it is better you report and let the veterinary personnel say, no, don't worry, than for you not to report or you downplay whatever you have seen. This is very important. And I also advise professionals, encourage your farmers, encourage the vets, to the owners, for them to make report. No matter how, permit me to use this word, no matter how stupid you think the report is, please receive them. After all, a fool is entitled to be heard. Listen to a fool. Please, do not downplay whatever the farmers have reported. And even in responding, do not respond to them in such a manner that will discourage them from reporting whatever they see again. In fact, commend them, encourage them, and tell them, even after you have gone, if they still notice anything, please let me know. This is very important, because the more confidence that the farmers build in your desire to be there for them, the better. Application of the appropriate measures and treatment will also ensure early return to good health and maximum production. I can also tell you this without fear of contradiction. When you receive early reporting and you attend to it as the case may be, and the appropriate measures are taken, if it's in terms of medication, if it's in terms of everything is not medication, I must say. Everything is not medication. It may just simply be rearrange this thing this way, rearrange that thing this way, and then you're going to get something, an improvement in it. It may just be that advice alone. But where steps are taken, solutions are found, and consequences are, minimized, and production gets back to maximum level. And of course, it automatically translates into, maximum production. Of course, we must have had this before. It's a common saying that a stitch in time saves 9. So early reporting is very, important. Common diseases that have bedeviled poultry over the years, it could be classified as viral, bacterial, could also be fungal. It can also be parasite or parasitic in nature, and we also have toxins. Please let us not play with any of these things. Good enough, the scientists have done so much, and companies are also doing so much. And I also want to say, not because I have the privilege of having this Ashish Ashish Life Science have me come to have this privilege, but I know that they have a wide range of products. I think I also put it in my slide that can be consulted. So where there is need for vaccinations as a strategic step to proactive measures, please take it. Most viral diseases, all viral diseases, I say without fear of contradiction, they are not treatable. However, the good news is that they are preventable. Of course, it is said that prevention is cheaper, prevention is better than cure. So please take the step while it's done. Talking about vaccination, this reminds me a story a few years back. It's a lady married to a vet, and then the lady had this poultry farm within their residence. And then the husband will call the wife. He says, Sisi, your birds, have you vaccinated it? He said, no, leave my birds alone. I am praying for my birds. God will protect my birds. Somehow, let me say this for those of you who are married and whatever. Sometimes you are very good, but because of the closeness with your spouse, they may not take you, that serious. So the lady with the husband, with the vet as husband, we say, Sisi, did you vaccinate your bird? No, God will take be the bad spirit that will come and affect my birds. Well, it was only a matter of time. The birds took ill, and then, of course, it was clear that they were down with infectious buzzard disease, that's Gomboro. And then the lady ran back to the man and said, look, my birds are dying. We say, well, but I told you. It was quite an interesting story that I had many years. I know the family, so each time I never forget. So prevention through vaccinations and steps are very important. Just a few signs of some of the diseases. Of course, this is Newcastle, the chronic form. This is interesting. I spoke about water management. This is coccidiosis in the poultry, in a broiler farm. When you have a well-trained personnel on your farm, number one is that let him take steps to make sure that water does not spill on the ground. Even if it's automated, check the nipple. Check the nipples to be sure that no nipple is leaking, particularly in farms that are very large farms. Sometimes it's not easy, but of course, they have also tried to put in measures like CCTV that they can always assess and reassess to know. But be that as it may, it's important to check the litter from time to time to check the physical appearance of the birds to know whether they are active or they are not active and things like that, so that you can quickly identify a case of a possible infection and take the necessary steps. This is what's it called? Gomboro disease, the infectious buzzard disease. Actually, with the use of available vaccines, of course, vaccine management is another thing entirely, it's another subject. A vaccine that is not well taking care of cannot protect the birds against the diseases. Vaccines, you must know the source of your vaccines. You must know the source of your, medicaments, the drugs that you need to, you must know the source, particularly vaccines. The issue of cold chain is there. That may not be the subject for today, but it's very important. Take your vaccines from reputable sources. Very important. Incidentally, vaccines are comparatively cheap when compared with the drugs that needs to be used on birds that are already infected. So ensure that the vaccines come from reputable sources, and even when they get to you, you should also maintain the required local condition that will keep that vaccines potent. For example, the cold chain, you must never play with it. This is extremely, important. I just brought this up. Targeted sourcing of inputs, whether feeds or drugs or vaccines. Maybe it's a way of appreciating Ashish Life Science, particularly those of them in Nigeria, that I believe, even though it's not so long that they're here, but I have seen a lot of impact made by this Life Ashish Science on the industry so far. I have seen a lot of impact. Some of the drugs are becoming highly sought after, and permit me as a veterinarian to say that a good number of them are highly potent. And let me also say this, within the Nigerian context, any drug that is not certified by NAFDAC, we should be wary of it. All their drugs are NAFDAC certified. And this is a good thing that I have found, and I have no reason not to be associated with their products. Of course, when they were talking, let me just leave the issue of NAFDAC, but I'm happy that their products are NAFDAC approved. I'm happy about that. I have also had direct dealing with the NAFDAC, so I know, barring all hitches, I know that for anyone that brings its product, follow their steps as it should be. Once it's certified, anywhere, everywhere across the Nigerian nation, your drug is acceptable. I spoke about laboratory services. This is to an extent providing the needed services, support services for poultry farms. It doesn't matter how small or large. In fact, we have seen really large poultry farm, they have a small laboratory that they use for their own farm, and this is a welcome development. And they can do basic things as taking the titer of the antibodies, particularly the breeder farms and what have you. And it's important. We don't do anything blindly. We seek the appropriate personnel. The examinations are there. The slide to the right, you see some physical assessment is being made, and then by the personnel, and then you go to the lab. Well, I just brought this in to talk about the particular PPE. This is a highly mechanized farm. Of course, when you have large farms like this, the young birds, as they are growing, they change their feathers, and there's so much in the air. The appropriate PPE can even help the personnel that are working to ensure that they themselves do not contract some diseases, including respiratory in nature. Of course, when you also get into the farm, you are able to observe the behavior of the birds and then give you an indication of possible early signs of, infection, as the case may be. I just brought this up, and then the issue of trained personnel, we cannot overemphasize it. The man to the right is checking the birds. one after the other. It's like what you have in the human setting where you do what looks like a word round. Just do a basic check, and then you also see whatever is there. Sometimes some birds may just, for whatever reason, mortality is recorded, and you take out any dead birds. Don't allow any dead birds to stay longer than the very time you know that there's a dead bird. Apart from its physical presence affecting the free movement of others that are still alive, the dead bird can serve as a strong potential channel through which the normal birds can also be infected. So, doing this kind of routine is not out of place. And of course, the personnel are there to also, help you. This is interesting. You realize in the early part of the presentation when I was talking about what you need to put in place, security and pilfering. The young man there, just look closely towards the shots. You're going to see a bird, as if the bird is sharing his shots together with him. It's one of those vices. In fact, I wish that someday a book will be written on pilfering. It's one of those human weaknesses where people just simply choose to be mischievous for whatever reason best known to them. I will show a very small video now. Please be attentive. I will show a very small video, just about a minute or so, and then you appreciate what we are talking about. I will just go through it. Let's see the video. It's actually a farm where a lady and apparently her son got into a farm, and then it's not showing. Oh my God. Okay. They got into a farm. They stole the birds, just like the one this young man tucked into his shorts. They stole it together with eggs. It's a layer farm. You imagine, sorry that the video is not showing. You imagine that a farm that is at the peak of production, you are not getting good return from their production. From investigation, you may just discover that some people are stealing the eggs. In fact, there was the story of a man who, he has just one day in the whole week to visit his farm. He depends so much on his farmers to work. Somehow the man realized that each time he visits his farm on that particular day, he only goes there, let's say on Sundays, and stay there from morning till evening. He realized that he collects more eggs than the eggs that are collected from Monday to Friday and Saturday. He collects more eggs, and he started to investigate. The answer was simple. The birds are doing very well. Everything, they are eating sufficiently, as it were, but the workers were just stealing the birds. Then how can he break even? Do not forget, up to 6 months before, let's say 18 weeks or thereafter, before the birds start to lay, they will only be consuming and consuming and consuming. It's at the time of production, then some level of recovery of whatever has been put for the purpose of raising the birds, you start to recover before you talk about profits. So it's a very serious aspect that we must not joke with. Of course, this is part of what I said a while ago, the issue of water, availability of water, and then let's go on. I spoke about light a while ago. Here is a farm, the one to your left. If you look at it closely, there is, this is a brooding house. The arrow points at a solar light. Of course, the bulbs there also show the electricity. But during brooding, on no account will you leave your birds without light during brooding. So whether it's going to be alternative light source or whatever, please ensure that they are, light is available. I just brought out this triangle, the vaccination or medication, the management, and biosecurity. Each side of the triangle is essential in protecting the health of the livestock, but each is interdependent with the other. Wherever the missing piece, failure of one eliminates or emanates, it will overwhelm the others, and losses of productivity and profits are going to result. It's a tripod, it's a triangle. If any part is compromised, you choose to compromise the issue of biosecurity, or it will put a lot of pressure on the management, and by extension, you are bound to spend more in the area of medication, or vice versa. It just shows that everything must be total. I think we are getting to the end of it now. Next. The biosecurity measure, the importance of strict biosecurity procedures to prevent diseases, introduction and spread, the vaccination program, I've already spoken about that. The issue of nutrition, proper nutrition can boost, the best immunity and overall health. Birds that are not well fed, they stand the chance of succumbing to any form of diseases at any time. So the birds must be well fed. Environmental control, again, that talks about the maintaining a clean and hygienic, poultry environment. Well, the benefits of the proactive strategies, that is increased productivity, reduce mortality rates, and ultimately you have your costs, saved. This is very important. In view of the emerging and re-emerging diseases, the need for everyone to keep to the rules and guidelines for ensuring proper management can never be overemphasized. I just shared the experience of avian influenza that took the world by surprise, and then let us not allow it again to repeat itself. We're getting to the end. I shared while I was talking at the earlier point, I said that I have a statement that I have been making over the years when people come, visiting or anywhere I go to. I tell them that animals are more honest than humans. These animals, you are the one who went to acquire them. After acquiring them, it's what you decide to do with them that will determine what they will give you in return. Sometimes you visit farms, and then they give you all sorts of story as to how they have been taking care of the animals. But when you take, from experience, you take a closer look at the animals, you can be sure whether they are being well fed or not, or whether the environment is good enough or not. You are free to complain, give reasons for whatever you want to give. To say, oh, they are eating too much. They will provide this. Oh no, the climate is. You are free to give any kind of excuse that you want to give. But the bottom line is that these animals are so honest to the point that it is what you give them, the local condition you provide, the feed you provide, the water that you provide, even the honesty of the personnel that is attending to them, they will all go back to determine how well they are going to, respond to you for the purpose for which you are keeping them. So I encourage every human, wherever you are, these animals, you acquire them on your own, take care of them. In fact, it is said that how honest, how righteous a man is determined by the way he cares for his animals. This is one statement that is also there. How righteous you are, it shows on the well-being of your animals. I'd like to thank everyone. I may have taken quite some time. I was not looking at my watch, but I tried to express myself sufficiently. But I'd like to thank everyone that have taken time to listen, and in particular, Ashish Life Science Limited for the privilege to share our thoughts this very crucial time. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much, sir, for this quick and very informative, but very small things, but which are very important as far as the health of the bird is concerned. So there are a few questions. Let me just go through it. If anything is, there is one question from Gerald that he is very keen to know about the space measurement for chickens, and what flow rate for ventilation is required per square meter, how he can maintain the temperature in tropical area.
Okay, I had the question, but the earlier part I cannot. Okay, fine. I would like to know the space measurement for chickens, for house, and what flow rate for ventilation air. Well, it is not safe for me to tell you the specific measurement, particularly in the tropics. It is not safe. It has to do with locality with locality. It will interest you in Nigeria, for example. Within the country, as we speak, some parts of the country, let's say, for example, Jos, you have to put on cardigan there. Birds there, all of them in the tropics, they do differently from what happens just down another 50 kilometers or a little more away from the plateau. What you have down in Lagos, that is the western part of Nigeria, is a little different from what you have in the central part, and not to even talk about the northern part. In your intro, you introduced me as someone who attended University of Maiduguri. That is very true. Maiduguri is so hot that even during the rainy season, even the water that falls, the rain that falls, is still hot. So it's not really safe to say, put, say 5 birds in 1 square meter or do this. You have to have someone that have knowledge about in your own locality so that I can give you something specific. That's one. Number 2, even what is possible during the rainy season in the tropics can even be different from what will happen during the dry season. The dry season is usually associated with a high, temperature during the dry season, very high. I showed a picture of a farm that was putting a ceiling when they realized that the birds, they have been keeping birds over time. But they realized that the heat that comes between January, February, March, April, and May is usually very, very severe. And then now they have taken a proactive step by providing ceiling. In fact, if I had taken the picture, they have even made available sockets where you can put some, exactly. There is provision where you now put some form of electricity where they can put fan. These are all measures to ensure that the birds are provided with the needed local climate. So the fellow asking question, I do not know exactly where he's talking from, but even within the tropical region, there are still a lot of variations. It is only good enough that and some of these experiences may span over 2, 3, 4 cycles of production. 1 cycle of production may not be enough. In fact, not may, will not be enough. Why am I saying so? One cycle of production may just have occupied, if it's broiler, for example, may just have occupied only a portion of the time of the year where weather appeared to be favorable. Another cycle will just come up during another time of the year where weather is not so favorable. So you will need to have between 3 to 4 cycles where you are going to study clearly to be able to know exactly what is appropriate. What is appropriate. During brooding, for example, during the brooding period, depending on the time of the year, you will see that sometimes the heat that you provide for the purpose of brooding may not even last for more than 1 week. But on paper, you'll be told that brood your chickens for 3 weeks. On paper, brood your chickens in 2 weeks. But you realize that the temperature, the surrounding temperature on its own, even without fire, is already at the level of the temperature that is required for the purpose of brooding. So you probably don't need to brood for more than 1 week. At some other time of the year, when the weather is wet, you may brood for up to 2 weeks. And some other time, you may brood for up to 3 weeks. So there is nothing that can really be specific. And that is where consistency, good knowledge, and being dedicated is very important. In fact, I tell people, if you know that you do not have time to raise your livestock, please don't engage in it. Because you will end up blaming people here and there, blaming this, blaming that, blaming that. But when you have the time, not just the money, when you have the time, you'll be able to appreciate what the best go through at different times. And then, even if someone is helping you to keep, it will be easy to explain why social measures are needed at this time and these measures are needed at this time. But one final word is, once you provide the appropriate local environmental, climate, to the extent of ensuring maximum production, your best will give you the best that they are good for, that they are known for. Thank you.
There are a few more questions. Again, this Gerald has asked. He's from Tanzania. Fowl typhoid and pulorum becomes a threat in poultry industry. In case of outbreak, what are the best probable choice of treatment or the drugs he can use in typhoid as well as in pulorum?
Okay.
The molecules.
Yeah, okay. Thank you again. It's not professional for me to list the names of drugs that will be required. It's not professional. That's the first thing. Number two is that wherever you are, before you say fowl typhoid, there is need to ensure that laboratory diagnosis confirms it. And while carrying out this laboratory diagnosis, of course, these are bacterial infections. While carrying them out, there is also need for sensitivity. As we speak, sadly and unfortunately, there is a growing antimicrobial resistance, by many of the, infective agents. The reason is that people, for not following the required procedure for diagnosis before they carry out treatment, many people have actually abused these antimicrobials within their farms, to the point that even when a batch of beds are cleared, the bacteria still remain within the environment. They have not gone out completely. They have not been fully eliminated. You bring in another batch of beds, then you find that they now established a strong foothold within your farm. But it's enough. Please make sure that diagnoses are carried out, sensitivity is also carried out, then you use the drug as prescribed by the manufacturers. Another question is, how often should I invite a vet on a broiler farm? Please, before you start your broiler farm, I mentioned it, There's the knowledge that you, as a farmer, you need to have. You have the knowledge that, yes, you need a vet. You have the knowledge that, look, your birds will need feed. You have the knowledge of, if I have so number of birds, what is the expected quantity of feed? Interestingly, broilers, they will continue to eat from day they come in to the last day you are going to slaughter them. How long they are going to stay is a measure of the quality and quantity of the feed that you are giving. Then the issue of vet, please, before you start, you have a standby vet. Let him advise you. The issue of immunization is also very important. When to immunize and things like that, you should have them. One of the greatest mistakes that farmers make is to invite when the damage had already started, when the damage has started, they invite. But when you have someone, a vet close to you, he's able to help you monitor even the basic knowledge we give you. Simple as, please, depending on what you are raising, please make sure that there is 0 drop of water on the floor. Very important. Simple information like that can go a long way. So please, let there be a vet that you will be with you for as close as possible. Can you transfer the, is it PPT after?
Yeah. Sir, we will forward those, PPT to the attendees later
Okay. Okay, maybe back. What did he say?
on. We want to see the signs of the Newcastle disease.
Oh, okay. You, I think that you can share that, but let me also warn at this point. Many diseases may appear. What we showed is a classical example of it. But in fact, don't wait. Do not wait until your birds get to that level, because this sign is more or less the chronic stage of it. When it appears as if the virus had gotten enough accommodation in your birds, it's not directly killing them. Those that needed to die, they have already died. This one seems to have built some level of resistance. But strong as their resistance were, it has affected their nerves. It's the nervous system that affects. Then they start to have this neck twisted and what have you. Please, I advise, do not wait. These are one of the diseases that you can immunize your birds against, and let it be well done. In fact, well, let me advise that, again, it's something that has to do with local. It may not just be taken all across, because I think we are talking to people from different parts of the world. But there are specific times of the day that may be best to carry out these vaccinations, so that the vaccines are well delivered. You fast the birds, particularly if it's going to be the one in water, or in layers if it's going to be injectable. All these vaccination regimens, they are there, and your local vet will advise you best. What are most potential risk factors on bird farm currently, and how can we trigger it? Would you please brief us?
Yeah, that is a spelling mistake. He has written trigger, but it's a trigger.
Trigger, yeah, I guess that's smart.
Trigger.
Trigger, okay.
If
bird farm currently. Well, yes, from my presentation, it is clear that you cannot pinpoint anything as the potential risk to farm. I have gone from beginning to the end to show, particularly the triangle that I showed. You know, the management must be good enough, your biosecurity must be good enough, and then, you know, all other aspects must be good enough. In fact, this takes me back again when I said animals are more honest than humans. If humans, you do what you need to do honestly for the birds, they will give back good results. No doubt about that. Oh, okay.
So certainly, Sony Angupi, we will try to have a session on goats also. Yeah, so you can take the next question.
Yeah. This is an enlightenment presentation
of oral vaccine.
Come
Powdered.
again? Yeah. Okay, powdered milk is usually added to chlorinated water to chelate the chlorine, and how can the quantity of milk be added to be determined? Okay, let me say this too. Thank you for this question, David. Of course, the quantity of water you will use is determined by the number of beds on your farm. It's very important. Many of the vaccines we tell you, for example, for 1,000 beds or so, you can use up to say 10 liters. But chances are you do not even have 1,000 beds. You don't have 1,000 beds. Once vaccine is open, there's no question of saying you are going to share the vaccine into two and this. But let me also say this, please, let me say this. Vaccines, when produced, they are usually very safe. The reason why I am speaking about beds that is usually lesser, of course, some other companies, they also produce vaccines that say for 200 beds, for 500 beds, and sometimes 1,000 beds. As much as possible, get vaccines that will just be appropriate for the number of beds that you have. Be that as it may, I know that most vaccines are sufficiently safe enough to the point that a little more is not going to be harmful. I say this, I mean, with every sense of responsibility. You have, for example, 400 birds, and you got a vaccine for, say, 500 birds. Please, it is practically difficult to say, okay, I bring this vaccine out, let me share it into the, by the time you start doing that, you have started to contaminate that vaccine. You stand the risk of contaminating it. And more so, you can never, these are things that are scientifically and accurately put together. But it is enough to say that if you have, say, 400 beds, you can use vaccine up to 500 and maintain the sterility as much as possible. The issue of milk, I also advise people, again, say you have like 2 liters. In our own locality here, there's this small sachet of milk that is produced, you know, it's like 5 grams or like 10 grams. If you have, say, 10 liters of water, just one may be okay. But usually the milk is not expected to have any adverse effect on the efficacy of the vaccines once they are put in. But it is enough that a good sense of judgment is applied even in the quantity of it that is put. Going forward, I advise people, the water that you are going to use for vaccination, please, you can have it put on the ground, even covered, even 3 hours, 6 hours before. Because the idea of the use of the, you have stated it, is to, you know, take care of the chlorine content. That same chlorine content, if you fetch your water and keep, the chlorine content can also evaporate. It could also evaporate. This is the other aspect of it. So if you keep the fresh water longer, chances are that on its own, the chlorine water will, and this is what happened mostly with public water supply. You know, that's where you find the chlorine. So when you put it, you can put your milk, you wait after 1 hour, 2 hours, and shortly before you carry out your vaccination, you can now put the vaccine in the water. Kindly send the recording. Okay. What is the treatment of test for fungal? Please, again, consult your vet. Let him identify that you have a fungal infection. You know, I will not be professional talking about drugs at this point, but I'm sure that Ashish Life Science can have a provision for that. Let me see more of the questions. What you talked about orientation with the sun and the best location line with, yeah, that's right, for maximum production. Well, let me just say that it is from geography, we have been told that the sun rises from the east and settles in the west. You know, this is what we know from geography. The orientation of the farm should be that the longer side of the farm, should be east-west, should be east-west. The longer side of the farm should be east-west. And the reason is simple. At that east-west, the longer side, the percentage of the impact of the rising sun and the setting sun will be very minimal when compared with the sun is rising from east to west, and then you are giving an orientation of your bed, not minding the rising the direction of the sun, you are putting it north and south. You can be sure that no matter how tall your building is or even short, the sun will come in fully. The only time you will ever enjoy what looks like some shade is when it's between 11:30 to, let us say, 12:30. Because by 12, the sun is directly over. You may see some amount of shade, but thereafter, as it tries to set, you know, the sun comes in. Of course, there are other measures. You may have some other covers. You may provide fan. You may even put, just creating some good microclimate for your birds to, you know, to give you the best. How can we increase biosecurity at local or small farm? The first thing is to fence off as much as possible. Fence off. Let the beds, let the farm be isolated. When I say isolated, I'm also aware that there are people who live on the same farm with where they are raising their birds. But let it be known. Let everybody within the family be aware that, look, that is not a place for museum. Don't even take your visitors, say, let them come and see how your farm is. So that is the first step of, you know, biosecurity. The other one is that at the entrances, you create a point for dip. Maybe I would have come up with some of the pictures. You create a point for dip so that whoever is entering, he has a place where he dip his food with some form of, you know, disinfectant. I also advise, depending on the locality, if you can bring your water, you have where you keep your feed, you have your source of water not too far from the farm itself. It has its own advantage. If you can just have your pipe water, you know, not too far, you just fetch within a short distance. So nobody is going out of the perimeter of the farm to a large extent. Then keep away birds as much as possible. Keep away some of these wild birds. They can come in small sparrows or whatever. But I know that it's a tall order to attain. But as much as you can, keep them away, you know. Any other question? Oh, no. Well, for presentation, higher chicken can be raised in 1 square. Okay, we've already talked about that one, you know. It's a factor.
Any comment that the flu is reoccurring, so how we can prevent it?
Oh, why is flu is reoccurring several times, even in a situation where the chicken house is well ventilated? Okay, you also check the density. Check the density of the beds. If they are very dense, chances of having this, I think the flu is referring to some respiratory conditions. You can also have it. Of course, there are products that also help in this regard. There are products that also help in this regard. If it's coryza, vaccinations can also be there. But everything has to do with your biosecurity, accurate diagnosis, early reporting, and what have you. And you can have some good return and remain profitable. Let me say this at this point. There is no poultry farming that is not profitable. I have seen where people, they start and then they went down. Whatever it is, what made it not to appear to be profitable is because some of the steps that were taken did not, you know, support the appropriate production that is required for the type of bird that you have. So it's not good somebody starting and then not going forward. Thank you so much, sir, for a wonderful presentation. What should one be looking out for in making choice of live or dressed broiler chicken? Well, broiler meat, yes. Let me say this. I have spoken in different fora. I hear so many people, because they speak about this antimicrobial presence in meat and then like that. I also go a long way to say, look, it has a lot to do with the individual integrity of the producers. The integrity of the producers. If Monday, for example, is saying that my chickens are free of any antimicrobial, therefore it is wholesome, it is a deliberate choice that he has made. Why am I saying this? Anybody can say so. You see, these drugs present in meat, they are not easily visible. They are not something of the eye. And you cannot go, you buy your chicken, then you say there's a laboratory, let me check first whether it has also antimicrobial thing or that. It's usually practically not possible. But it is enough that people should be responsible enough to respect the withdrawal period that is associated with any drugs. And in fact, sometimes farmers are faced with the challenge of a hard choice to make because they have already raised the birds sufficiently close to the time of slaughter, and some disease conditions is appearing. I advise people, no matter what, do not give drugs to chickens that you intend to slaughter. Do not give it, because they will eventually go into the meat and will affect the eventual consumers. More questions? Is there any more questions? Yes. Okay, please, how best can one dispose mortality? Good. The issue of mortality, burning is one way with the application of some chemicals, burning, or you bury them, you bury, you burn. That's very important. Have an excellent disposal method, an excellent disposal method. That's very important. Don't allow your dead birds to litter places. You remember in one of the slides, I showed a man who was walking within the aisle where the birds are in the cages. One of the things that we do is to identify if there's any dead bird, immediately he removes it. And I know that in some local places, they have a way of recycling some of those dead birds, but on no account should they come in contact for human consumption or any other purpose for that matter. During the AI, we saw so many birds being destroyed. Feeding broilers all day and night, is it beneficial towards weight gain? Certainly it is. Most broilers, they have a period within which they gain maximum weight. From day old up to 4-5 weeks and maximum 6 weeks, they gain their weight. It is said that beyond 6 weeks, the weight gain is usually not commensurate with the increased quantity of feed that they take. What that simply means is that from day old, please make sure you feed your birds day and night. Of course, while giving feed, don't forget water too, because they go side by side. If you starve your birds, your broilers at a particular age, you stand the risk of they not growing as fast as they're supposed to, and then they will also stay even longer. Meanwhile, the longer that they stay, they are more exposed to diseases, because broilers by nature, they don't stay long. Therefore, their vaccination regimen is not as lengthy or comprehensive as the one for layers. So the earlier you feed them, what they lose by not staying long is proper feed that is well compounded by notable industry, having all the nutrients and ingredients as the case may be. That's very important. Doctor, may you assist me on this local chicken? Is there any need to vaccinate. You must vaccinate. You must vaccinate. You see, what you talk about local chicken, from what I understand, there are those ones that are raised in free range. Maybe that's what you are talking about. But one of the things that is clear is that these free range birds, they have come to serve as a strong reservoir for infections that eventually gets to other places. So please do not allow local birds around your own farm. Don't keep it for any reason, strictly keep them away, have nothing to do with them. Because one of the vehicles that transmit diseases can even be your food. You use your food to carry the litter from a bird that is on free range, and then you take it to a farm where they are intensively kept. That is why we talk about changing of clothes when you move from wherever you are into a farm. You change your clothes and even make sure that you protect your birds. Please shed some light on the online consultancy to farmer. No, I don't think I spoke about that online consultancy. It's enough to say that, look, your every locality is special. Please know what is best in your locality and follow it. Yes, you have said about diagnosis and scientific tests for salmonella, experienced and expert in poultry diseases management. What drugs have performed best in no. Professionally, I wouldn't say this. I have already said whatever you have, let there be appropriate diagnosis and let there be appropriate drugs prescribed after the sensitivity test, and then it should also be used as prescribed by the manufacturers. And experiences are usually gathered, and thereafter, they now know what other further steps to take. Having said that, the issue of biosecurity is very important. Is there a vaccine for salmonellosis produced by Ashish? I think that they will answer that. If there is, where can I get? My Dr. Ayuba will do justice to that. How best can one control lice in a farm? It's important that lice do not get into your farm. Very, very important. And then sometimes even the best of treatment still leaves you with residues of the lice that can still come back. But it's enough to say that once a batch of birds have finished their level of production, they are going out, please make sure that the entire house is disinfected, is cleaned, and allowed to rest, to ensure that any form of parasites or what have you is eliminated before you restock. This is what I say.
And one more, sir, if you allow that, especially for the ectoparasites.
Yeah.
See, people only take care about, means most of the time it happens that by negligence they only take care about the bird. But it is equally important to take care of the premises also, because once they've fallen down, or if they may go away and hide in cracks and crevices. So that also needs to be addressed properly, or the will be again an issue.
That's right. I am aware of one of your products that can take care of that. I'm aware that can be put in water soluble. I don't know. I think I'm right.
Yeah, Dr. Ayuba will be presenting quickly about
beautiful
product.
Yeah,
so let's go to Dr. Ayuba. It's over to you. You can unmute and share the screen.
That's right. Thank you very much.
Sir, thank you so much for addressing the questions, all the questions professionally. Ayuba, can you share your screen?
Okay, sir.
So sorry everyone, because we have a limited time span, and we cannot address all the questions, but still doctor has tried to answer all the questions in a professional way. So let's have a quick about few slides from our colleague from Nigeria, Dr. Ayuba. Yeah, 5.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Monday, for the wonderful presentation. First of all, I want to attend to that question, whether Ashish Life Science produce vaccine and how he can get it. For now, Ashish Life Science does not produce any vaccines, but if there's any changes, we'll let you people know. So thank you very much. I am Dr. Amos Kazama from Nigeria. I will want to talk on some of the products. Ashish Life Science is actually an innovative solution provider. Just like Dr. Monday has said, he has mentioned some of the challenges on the poultry farm. So Ashish Life Science has some of the solutions to these problems. Now, let me go through what Ashish Life Science is. The vision of the company is to be a world-class leading company in pharmaceuticals, striving continuously to make the benefit of science and enhance the quality of life. Now, this can be achieved through delivering high-quality products to all our customers worldwide. Ashish Life Science is a worldwide company. Our presence is in about 60 countries. Now, with regards to regulatory bodies, with regards to quality of our product, Ashish Life Science plant is being certified by regulatory bodies at international and then at local levels. European GMP, Good Manufacturing Practices, Saudi Arabia, World Health Organization, Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, NAFDAC, Kenya, Uganda, and about 500 regulatory bodies have certified our product, the quality of our product. So Ashish Life Science is a quality product that you can trust for your beds. Now, we have our manufacturing plant in India, and we also have a research and development center where we deliver the services that include pre-formulations, formulation development, and analytical development and stability studies. This is from India. Now, our range of products cover both the livestock, the large animals, the large ruminants, so to say, the poultry, the pets. We cover all those animals. We have a very wide range of product. But for this discussion, we are looking at the poultry sector. So here are some of the list of products that we want to consider. Now, Ashish Life Science, we have Ashoxy 20%. Ashoxy 20% is actually a broad spectrum antibiotic, oxytetracycline, 200 milligram. Some of the challenges that Dr. Monday has pointed out, Ashoxy can take care of wide, both gram-negative and gram-positive bacteria. Dr. Monday was talking about prophylaxis, prevention of some of the diseases. He talked about proper preparation, prevent poor performance. So if you want to have a good performance, Ashoxy 20% will help you prevent some ailments, specific bacteria that will include E. coli, Salmonella, Staphylococcus, Streptococcus, all these bacteria. It will inhibit the protein synthesis and it takes care of the diseases. Now, one good thing about Ashoxy, it is easily administered. It has a good oral absorption, even in fasting birds. You can administer any time of the day, and you don't have issues with the product because it dissolves faster, unlike other products. Now, the dosage we consider for prevention of ashoxy, you can use 200 to 400 milligram per 4 to 5 liters of drinking water, or for easy, you can just use 1 to 2 grams per 4.5 liters of water for 5 to 7 days. Then if you are considering treating a condition or a bacteria, you can use 400 to 800 milligram per 4 to 5 liters of drinking water. Now, why ashoxy 20%? First, like I said, ashoxy 20% is a broad spectrum antibiotic. It covers a wide range of infections. It covers both the gram-negative, it covers the gram-positive bacteria. Now, second point, ashoxy 20% is very easy to administer and it dissolves completely. Once you dissolve ashoxy 20%, it takes seconds, it dissolves. It helps boost egg production. Now, some hypotheses or some research has proven that oxytetracycline helps in boosting egg production. It also controls subclinical infections. Sometimes a farmer may just have a healthy birds, or he may see his birds looking healthy, but they may have some underlying clinical infections which can affect their performance. It can affect the egg production. It can affect the efficiency of feed conversion in broiler birds. So it will affect your profitability at the end of the day. So with this ashoxy 20%, you can be able to control some of these subclinical infections. Now, for quality, just like I said, Now, for quality, just like I said,
Dr. Ayuba, sorry, just read the message.
Quality assured.
Okay.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah. We can hear. Just read the message.
All right. Quality assured of ashoxy 20%. Now, the next product I would like to introduce is ashoxy egg production, ashoxy egg formula. Now, this is a combination of vitamin and antibiotic, in particular oxytetracycline. Now, decrease in egg production due to some nutritional deficiencies or some diseases in birds can affect the production of egg. So this product combines some vitamins that meet the requirements of your bird in terms of egg production. Vitamin A, D, D3, B2, vitamin B12, vitamin E, vitamin K3, nicotinamide, and calcium pantothenate. Now, these are some of the vitamins that is needed for your bird's performance in terms of egg production. It protects the bird, ashoxy egg formula, protects the bird from stressful condition and maintain laying performance. It checks secondary bacterial infection during viral outbreak.
Dr. Ayuba.
It controls.
Dr. Ayuba, just focus on the special points, okay? Because people are aware about the product. Just focus on the key points.
All right. Now, the main point here for prevention, you use 2.5 grams, that's half teaspoon per 4.5 liters of drinking water for 5 to 7 days. Then it comes in 100 grams sachet and 1 kg jar. Now, the key point here is, why do you use, or why do you need Ashoxi egg? A deficiency of one or more vitamin can lead to a number of diseases or syndrome, just like I said. Ashoxi egg fully meets the vitamin requirement of your birds. They play a crucial role in normal body function, growth, and reproduction. It is also easy to administer. It dissolves completely. Now, just like I said, it comes in 100 grams and 1 kilogram jar. All right. Now, this product, Ashoxi Chick Formula, Dr. Monday was trying to talk about sourcing of our birds. In some places, different hatcheries, or in transportation, different hatcheries bring up their birds together. Now, there are a lot of infections that comes from hatcheries or from the birds market, which we can use Ashoxi Chick Formula to prevent some of these diseases. It is a combination of some vitamin and oxytetracycline that will take care of the birds, of the chick, for the period of the brooding process. Now, key thing about this product is it contains vitamin and minerals to support the young chick. It also prevents diseases because of the oxytetracycline that is in it. Then uniform growth. Your birds will be able to grow together. You will have a very uniform growth in your birds. It supports the immune system of your birds. Your younger birds will have boosted immune system. Now, the quality, just like I said, the quality is assured. Now, lastly, I'll talk about Ashoxi Chick Formula. Sorry, piperazine. 1,000 milligram. Now, this controls parasites in your birds. Parasites, they can affect the growth of your birds. As the birds are eating, they will affect the growth. They take a portion of the nutrients meant for the animal, for your birds. So it will affect the growth, it will affect the production of the birds. Now, it can be administered with or without food. It has a very short withdrawal period. This is very important for poultry, for the laying farm, because 3 days for meat and 2 days for egg withdrawal period. Then the absorption rate is very high. It is safe for use. It can boost the growth performance of your poultry. And like I said, the quality is assured. So these are some of the products that we have that as a poultry farm or as a poultry farm owner, you can be able to have solutions to your birds. All right, thank you very much for listening. Ashish Life Science have other range of products that if you have a goat farmer and a livestock farmer, dog breeder, you can be able to contact Ashish Life Science for other products. So thank you very much for listening.
So thank you so much, Dr. Ayuba. If you want to know more about ALS products, you can just visit our website www.ashishlifescience.com, where there are country-specific websites also, and you can just choose your local language also. It's available in English and a few of the African languages, so you can use Like suppose somebody is from Tanzania, so he can go to Tanzania website and he can see the product details or even the company details in Swahili as well. So thank you so much for your time, and we are going to the last part. So I request my colleague Smita to share her screen, and she can help us for who is the winner. So let's hope for the 3 lucky winners. Dr. Monday, we have a quiz that is online, not quiz, but the online lucky draw. This is totally online, where all the participants, we put their name and then we choose with the lucky spin, we choose 3 lucky winners, and then our colleagues on that of that respective country will greet them with some of the hampers. So let's start. So this is the go for number 1, the first winner. Congratulations, Anzo Gerald. Heartiest congratulations to you. Our team will get in touch with you. Now let's wait for the second winner. Aline Z, heartiest congratulations. And now the third winner.